Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go through the book of Exodus. I want to just start a few chapters. Um, I want to go ahead and start in chapter 1, though. I want to get into the history of what the word says and want to be able to see the importance of it as well. I've been following God for a few years now, and even myself, I feel like I need to keep on reading the Old Testament because I feel like there's a lot of food that a lot of us as Christians or just believers in general don't really understand, or we're not grasping it well, or we look over because the New Testament has Jesus walking and all the way to Revelation. Um, but in Exodus, it clearly shows that Jacob's family is in Egypt. And when Jacob, Israel, went to Egypt, his sons and their families went with him. And it says, here are the names of those sons: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. Another son, Joseph, was already in Egypt. Okay, so another son, Joseph, was already in Egypt. So Jacob's whole family was with him in Egypt. And it had 70 descendants in all. 70 descendants in all. Later, Joseph, his brothers, and all the people of the generation died. But the Israelites had many children, and their number grew until the country of Egypt was filled with them. All right, so Egypt is filled up with a bunch of descendants of the Israelites. And then it says, trouble for the Israelites. Trouble for the Israelites. So then a new king began to rule Egypt. All right, you see that? A new king began to rule Egypt. He did not know Joseph. The king said to his people, look at the Israelites. There are too many of them, and they are stronger than we are. We must make plans to stop them from growing stronger. Let me say that again. We must make plans to stop them from growing stronger. If there is a war, they might join our enemies, defeat us, and escape from the land. Verse 11. The Egyptians decided to make life hard for the Israelites, so they put the slave masters over the people. These masters forced the Israelites to build the cities of Pithom and Ramses for the king. The king used these cities to store grain and other things. Verse 12. The Egyptians forced the Israelites to work harder and harder, but the harder they worked, the more they grew and spread. And the more Egyptians became afraid of them, so the Egyptians made them work even harder. They made life hard for the Israelites. They forced the Israelites to work hard at making bricks and mortar, and to work hard in the fields. The Egyptians showed no mercy. The Egyptians showed no mercy in all the hard work they made the Israelites do. So it's going into another little story. The nurses who followed God. Right here, the nurses who followed God. There were two Hebrew nurses who helped the Israelite women give birth. They were named Shiphrah and Puah. The king of Egypt said to the nurses, you will continue to help the Hebrew women give birth to their children. If a girl baby is born, let the baby live. But if it's a baby boy, you must kill him. But the nurses trusted God. So they did not obey the king's command. They let all the baby boys live. The king of Egypt called for the nurses and asked them, why did you do this? Why did you let the baby boys live? The nurses said to the king, the Hebrew women are much stronger than the Egyptian women. They give birth to their babies before we can go to help them. The nurses trusted God, so he was good to them and allowed them to have their own families. The Hebrews continued to have more children, and they became very strong. So Pharaoh gave this command to his own people: if the Hebrew women give birth to a baby girl, let it live. But if they have a baby boy, you must throw it into the Nile River. All right, so go ahead and skim through. I want to try to make these videos like 10 minutes long. If I make it a little bit longer, I'll see if I can do that. I want to be able to have just a little bit of time to read, but also for y'all to read with me and listen. Of course, recording in good quality and stuff like that, it takes a lot of memory and takes a lot of time of editing and updating. So this just being my first time, I want to be able to do 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and do chapter 2. There was a man from the family of Levi who decided to marry a woman from the tribe of Levi. And again, the subtitle is Baby Moses. Verse 2. She became pregnant and gave birth to a baby boy. The mother saw how beautiful the baby was and hid from the 3 months. She hid him for as long as she could. After 3 months, she made a basket and covered it with tar so that it would float. Then she put the baby in a basket and put the basket in the river in the tall grass. The babysitter stayed and watched to see what would happen to the baby. Verse 5. Just then, Pharaoh's daughter went to the river to bathe. She saw the basket in the tall grass. Her servants were walking beside the river, so she told one of them to go get the basket. The king's daughter opened the basket and saw the baby boy. The baby was crying, and she felt sorry for him. Then she noticed that it was one of the Hebrew babies. Verse 7. The baby's sister was still hiding. She stood and asked the king's daughter, "Do you want me to go find the Hebrew woman who can nurse the baby and help you care for it?" The king's daughter said, "Yes, please." So the girl went and brought the baby's own mother. The king's daughter said to the mother, "Take this baby and feed him for me. I'll pay you and take care of him." So the woman took her baby and cared for him. The baby grew, and after some time the woman gave the baby to the king's daughter. The king's daughter accepted the baby as her own son. She named him Moses because he had pulled him from the water. Moses helps the people. Moses grew and became a man. So it skips from being a baby to being a man. He saw that his own people, the Hebrews, were forced to work very hard. One day he saw the Egyptian man baiting a Hebrew man. Moses looked around and saw that no one was watching, so he killed the Egyptian and buried him in the sand. The next day Moses saw 2 Hebrew men fighting each other. He saw that one man was wrong and said to him, "Why are you hurting your neighbor?" The man answered, "Did anyone say you could be our ruler and judge? Tell me, will you kill me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday?" Then Moses was afraid. He thought to himself, "Now everyone knows what I did." Pharaoh heard about what Moses did, so he decided to kill him. But Moses ran away from Pharaoh and went to the land of Midian. Moses in Midian. Moses stopped near a well in Midian. There was a priest there who had 7 daughters. These girls came to that well to get water from their father's sheep. They were trying to fill the water trough with water, but there were some shepherds there who chased the girls away and would not let them get water. So Moses helped the girls and gave the water to their animals. Then they went back to their father, Reuel, and he asked them, "Why have you come home early today?" The girls answered, "The shepherds chased us away, but an Egyptian rescued us. He got water for us and gave it to our animals." So Reuel said to his daughters, "Where is this man? Why did you leave him? Go invite him to eat with us." Moses was happy to stay with that man. Reuel let Moses marry his daughter, Zipporah. Zipporah became pregnant and had a son. Moses named him Gershom. Gershom because Moses was a stranger in the land that was not his own. God decided to help Israel. A long time passed and the king of Egypt died, but the Israelites were still forced to work very hard. They cried for help and God heard them. God heard their painful cries and remembered the agreement he made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God saw the troubles of the Israelites, and he knew that he would soon help them. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready at 10 minutes. I'm going to try to push for 20 minutes. If the video ends up taking a while to update and edit, I'll go ahead and do that. But let's keep going because it's getting interesting. I don't want to just cut it off right here. The burning bush. Moses' father-in-law was named Jethro. All right. So Jethro was a priest of Midian. Moses took care of Jethro's sheep. One day, Moses led the sheep to the west side of the desert. He went to the mountain called Horeb, the mountain of God. On that mountain, Moses saw the angel of the Lord in a burning bush. So he's already on the mountain of God. That's one thing I want to point out. He's on top of the mountain. And then he meets an angel of the Lord in a burning bush. Moses saw a bush that was burning without being destroyed. So it wasn't burned up and in ashes. It was just there. So he decided to go closer. He decided to get closer to the bush and see how the bush could continue burning without being burned up. The Lord saw Moses was coming. I'm going to say that again. The Lord saw Moses was coming to look at the bush. So he called him from the bush. He said, Moses, Moses. Moses said, yes, Lord. Then God said, don't come any closer. Take off your sandals. You are standing on holy ground. I am the God of your ancestors. I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Moses covered his face because he was afraid to look at God. Then the Lord said, I have seen the troubles of my people. So he sees the troubles of his people. And I like to hear that. Then the Lord said, I have seen the troubles of my people. My people have suffered in Egypt, and I have heard their cries with the Egyptians when the Egyptians hurt them. I know about their pain. Verse 8. Now I will go down and save my people from the Egyptians. I will take them from the land and lead them to a good land where they can be free from the troubles. It is a land filled with many good things. Many different people live in the land. The Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. I have heard the cries of the Israelites, and I have seen the way the Egyptians have made life hard for them. So now I'm sending you to Pharaoh. Go, lead my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. So God's sending them out. Verse 11. But Moses said to God, I am not a great man. I am not a great man. How can I be the one to go to Pharaoh and lead the Israelites out of Egypt? And you're not talking about a small group of people. You're talking about all of the Israelites. Verse 12, God said, you can do it because I will be with you. This will be proof that I am sending you. After you lead the people out of Egypt, you will come and worship me on this mountain, on God's mountain. He's already on the mountain of God. He's encountering God as a burning bush, and God's sending him out, and he's saying, you're going to come worship me after you're done. Then Moses said to God, but if I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your ancestors sent me, then the people will ask, what is his name? What should I tell them? Then God said to Moses, tell them I am who I am. When you go to the Israelites, tell them I am sent me to you. And God said, tell the Israelites that you were sent by Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. This will always be my name. It is how I want the people to remember me from now on. Now go and call together the elders of the people. Tell them that Yahweh, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to you. Give them this message from me. I have been watching over you and have seen what people in Egypt have done to you. Verse 17. And I have decided that I will take away from the troubles you are suffering in Egypt. I will lead you to the land that now belongs to others, the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. I will lead I will lead you to the land filled with many good things. The elders, verse 18, the elders will listen to you. And then you and the elders will go to the Pharaoh, and you will tell him, Yahweh is the God of the Hebrews. He came to us and told us to travel 3 days into the desert. There, we must offer sacrifices to Yahweh, our God. But I know that Pharaoh will not let you go. Only a great power will force him to let you go. So I will use my great power against Egypt. I will cause amazing things to happen in the land. God is saying that. I do this. He will let you go. And I will cause the Egyptians to be kind. I will cause the Egyptians to be kind to the Israelites. They will give him many gifts to your people when they leave Egypt. All the Hebrew women will ask their Egyptian neighbors and their Egyptian women living in the houses for gifts. And those Egyptian women will give them gifts of silver, gold, and fine clothing. Then you will put those gifts on your children. In this way, you will take away the wealth of the Egyptians. All right, I'm going to try to squeeze in one more chapter. Verse 4, proof for Moses. Then Moses said to God, but the Israelites will not believe me when I tell them that you sent me. They will say, the Lord did not appear to you. But the Lord said to Moses, what is that you have in your hand? Moses answered, it's my walking stick. Then God said, throw your walking stick on the ground. So Moses threw his walking stick on the ground, and it became a snake. Moses ran from it. But the Lord said to him, reach out and grab the snake by its tail. When Moses reached out and caught the snake's tail, the snake became a walking stick again. Then God said, this is verse 5, use your stick in this way, and the people will believe that you saw the Lord, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will give you another proof. Put your hand under the robe. So Moses opened his robe and put his hand inside. Then he brought his hand out of the robe, and it was changed. His hand was covered with spots that were white like snow. This is leprosy. Verse 7, then God said, now put your hand into your robe again. So Moses put his hand into his robe again. Then he brought his hand out, and his hand was changed. Now his hand was good again, and it was before as it was before. Then God said, if the people don't believe you when you use your walking stick, then they will believe you when you show them this sign. If they still refuse to believe after you show them both of these signs, then take some water from the Nile River, pour the water on the ground, and as soon as it touches the ground, it will become blood. Then Moses said to the Lord, but Lord, I am telling you, I am not a good speaker. I have never been able to speak well, and that hasn't changed since you started talking to me. I am still not a good speaker. You know that I speak slowly and don't use the best words. Verse 11. Then the Lord said to him, who made a person's mouth? And who can make someone deaf or not able to speak? Who can make a person blind? Who can make a person be able to see? I am the one. I am the Lord. So go. I will be with you when you speak. I will give you the words to say. But Moses said, my Lord, I beg you to send someone else, not me. Verse 14. But then the Lord became angry with Moses and said, all right, I'll give you someone to help you. Aaron the Levite is your brother, isn't he? He is a good speaker. In fact, Aaron is already coming to meet you, and he will be happy to see you. I will tell you what to say. Then you will tell Aaron, and I will help him say it well. I will tell both of you what to do. So Aaron will speak for you like God. You will speak to him, and he will tell the people what you say. Verse 17. So go and carry your walking stick with you. Use it. And the other miracles to show the people that I am with you. Just a few more, guys. Stay strong. So Moses is leaving Midian. That's the subtitle. He leaves Midian. Then Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law. Moses said to him, please let me go back to Egypt. I want to see if my people are still alive. Jethro said to Moses, "Go in peace." Then while Moses was still in Midian, the Lord said to him, "It is safe for you to go back to Egypt now. The men who wanted to kill you are dead now." Verse 20. So Moses put his wife and children. All right, I want to stop right there because when Jesus had died, an angel of the Lord had came to Joseph and Mary and pretty much said the same thing. The people who were trying to kill you are dead. So I just wanted to share that. Verse 20. So Moses put his wife and children on the donkey and returned to Egypt. He carried his walking stick with him, then the walking stick with power of God. While Moses was traveling back to Egypt, the Lord spoke to him. When you talk to Pharaoh, remember to show him all the miracles that I have given to you the power to do. But I will cause Pharaoh to be very stubborn. He will not let the people go. Then you should say to Pharaoh, this is what the Lord says. Israel is my firstborn son, and I am telling you to let my son go and worship me. If you refuse to let Israel go, then I will kill your firstborn son. So Moses' son circumcised. On the way to Egypt, Moses stopped at a place to spend the night. This is verse 24. The Lord met Moses, so God's meeting Moses at the place and tried to kill him. The Lord met Moses at the place and tried to kill him. But Zipporah took the flint knife and circumcised her son. She took the skin and touched his feet. Then she said to Moses, "You are a bridegroom of blood to me." Zipporah said this because she had to circumcise her son, so God let Moses live. Verse 27, Moses arrives in Egypt. And this is going to be the last part because we're already pushing almost 22 minutes. The Lord had spoken to Aaron and told him, "Go out into the desert and meet Moses." So Aaron went and met Moses at the mountain of God. He saw Moses and kissed him. Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had commanded him to say and all the miracles he must do to prove that God he sent to him. Verse 29, so Moses and Aaron went and gathered together all the elders of the Israelites. Then Aaron spoke to the people and told them everything the Lord had told Moses. Then Moses did the miracles for all the people to see. And they believed what they had heard. Then the Israelites understood that the Lord had seen their troubles and came to help. So they bowed down and worshiped God. So you seen how God went with Moses, went with Aaron. Moses had spoke like God to Aaron, and God did many miracle signs and wonders and showed the Israelites that he was Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that he was I am, and he was going to basically get them out of Egypt. And there's a whole lot more. I'm stopping here right before chapter 5. I'm going to go ahead and make another video. It may be today, it may be tomorrow. But thank you for reading. I didn't want to preach too much on this video. There will be actually more videos to where I preach even more while I'm reading. But I wanted to strictly just get into the history in the Bible, so us as believers again can just really read it, understand, and grasp what God is trying to tell us. This is the easy to read version. There's many versions out there. There's the King James, New King James, New Living Translation, the NIV, and so forth. This easy to read version is for the people who are out there who are struggling to understand how to listen to the older versions of the Bible. I will also get into the King James and the New King James version in the future. Let me know if you like the easy to read version or not. I appreciate your time. May the Lord bless you in Jesus' name.